but we missed out on a title win, didn't we?
Yeah. Can't leave England yet.
So the FA Cup, Leicester. What are your thoughts?
Uh, well, first I can start with my thoughts about Chelsea. Um, and I still don't understand why Tuchel did not put his most informed attackers in the form of Kai Havertz and Christian Pulisic in that 11. If it's about making runs, I don't know what Werner gives you more than Pulisic right now.
I agree.
And uh, none of this takes away anything from what Leicester did on the day. But I do know that in the comment section, we are going to see VAR wins the day. VAR wins again,
Oh
right?
no.
And I'll tell you what, we ended last week's podcast starting to talk about the genius of how Leicester is continuing to stay relevant even after that amazing win
Love it.
years ago, and this just proves it. This is not a flash in the pan. It's a rebuild that had to happen with the capital that they utilized to sell when they had to sell off their spine, right?
True.
Drinkwater, Conte,
Maguire,
Mares, Maguire,
Ben Chilwell,
Ben Chilwell. Yeah, absolutely.
Kante.
Yeah. And you take that money and you find a way to bring in guys like Tielemans, who scored the goal and was everywhere on the day.
I agree.
Guys like James Madison, who unfortunately, yeah, he's been relegated to a smaller role near the end of the year as he's been regaining fitness. But man, he was lights out earlier this season, right? And then you have, well, Casper Schmeichel's a different. He's not a wonder kid, but we could talk about him forever.
Very important.
And Wesley Fofana, who for me is one of behind Ruben Dias. Wesley Fofana is the number 2 defensive signing of the season in the Premier League, easily.
Yeah, easily. Yeah. I agree with you. And you can make an argument that he was the number 1 too. I think.
Okay.
Because he was cheaper, right? And he was outshined with the buy by Saliba. Everybody was talking about Saliba, but nobody was talking about Wesley Fofana. But I'd like to say something that I feel like is really important with Leicester. Yeah. And that is how 3 players always stick there. And that is Schmeichel, that is Vardy, and Wes Morgan. Yes, Wes Morgan. Like, he deserved to lift the to lift the trophy with Schmeichel. Because these 3 players went through the championship. They won the championship. They won the Premier League. They won the FA Cup now. And they went to the Champions League together. So they've got history. These 3 players, they've got history. So they deserve to win it. And Vardy was laughing the whole game. Did you see it? Like, at the end, he was just, Reece James had a nudge on him, and he was just laughing.
It ain't a party without Jamie Vardy.
He was gonna sign for Ibiza supposedly before he signed for an English club, Fleetwood. I don't know if you say Fleetwood. Is it?
Yeah, you might be right there, but I still remember being over in Spain or a while back, and it was it was right around the time that they were very close to clinching the title, Premier League title, and we were in some underground bar that was pretty awesome, by the way. But we're down there, and these Brits come in piss drunk, and they start singing Jamie Vardy's having a party, and they got the whole bar singing it, and half the people there probably didn't know who the hell he was, but it was awesome. I mean,
well, classic. Do you think it's Kane who starts for England, but Vardy should get some minutes in the end with that pace, with that energy he has?
Goodness, yeah. You give him 20 minutes, 30 minutes, he'll make something happen.
Yeah, and Calvert-Lewin is a third option.
Good.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
We could talk about that at the end, the Euros, but I want to mention too Brendan Rodgers, because Leicester have achieved a lot by winning the Prem and with Claudio Ranieri and staying at the top. This is what deserves a lot of recognition in my eyes. Staying at the top, being one of the top dogs, one of the top 6. And to be that, you need to have a quality coach. And Brendan Rodgers, I think it was some news that he he refused the Tottenham interview,
Hmm.
and it's understandable because Leicester have a good owner, they've got a good team, they make good replacements for their sales. Because you mentioned Conte went and Didi came, Mahrez left. They have players for every position. Now
Yeah.
Ricardo Pereira, another really good right back, injury prone, I know, unfortunately, but Wesley Fofana, I want to mention him.
Yeah.
Wesley Fofana is one of the best center backs out there, and I wouldn't be surprised if he were to be picked for the Euros for France. He deserves it. He put the performances in the highest level, Premier
Yeah.
League.
Yeah.
Wesley Fofana performed, and the culture at Leicester. You see what a good owner does.
Mhm.
This is the culture of a club with a healthy environment.
And
Positive.
Yeah, and what a way to reward your owner and the late owner, right? Because of that crazy thing that happened a couple years ago, 3 years ago. But what a way to reward that family for their ownership too. And you could see the tears in the son's eyes
Oh.
when they were passing that trophy around. But we also have to remember they had two big contributions this whole year. Two big contributions from young boys, right? From guys that were I don't know if they're Leicester born, Leicester bred, but these guys, Harvey Barnes, who did not play a part in the
Yes.
final, has been awesome for them this year. Obviously, he's always got things to work on, but he's given us some of the goals of the season in terms of runs of the season, I should at least say. And then you have Luke Thomas coming in, and I believe he was left back for them, correct? Because there's been injuries all season, and these guys didn't miss a beat. In fact, they played significant roles in this type of a final win. So I got to ask you, when it all comes down to it, with the signings, and we know that they're doing really good business, and they continue to do really good business. Do you consider, or what would it take you to consider Leicester City as an actual top 6 team if we throw out the United, the City, the Liverpool, the Arsenal, Spurs, Chelsea? Do you start to put, is it now the big 7? What do you say?
By keeping Brendan Rodgers, I feel like that was a big statement, because if it was 3 years ago, Brendan Rodgers would have gone to Tottenham. And Leicester keeping him shows that we are willing to go against the best.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe long term, we have Everton too, which is investing.
Sure.
So we got Wolves, which I'm sure they're gonna invest big bucks soon, because they paid for an 18-year-old striker 40 million.
Yeah.
So we might see big move. Adama Traore leaving to generate funds, but Leicester, I do feel like they are the pioneers of a proper rebuild. Because when Ranieri left, they went on a rebuild, because every winning team, pieces are going to go, and you're going to make businesses. And they made it perfectly. Yeah. I'd say spotless. I'd even say I can't see how they would have done better than what they did, because they stayed at the top.
I don't know, and you have to think about it. That spine, that team is not really going anywhere anytime soon. I mean, Ndidi has, okay, there will be some very big suitors, as you mentioned last week. Manchester United would not be dumb to start knocking on his door and showing him more money.
For who?
But for Ndidi,
I agree.
right? But you've got Ndidi and Tielemans. You've got, I really like how Harvey Barnes has been developing, and I think he'll only be better as the years go on. Yeah. You've got Luke Thomas as a long-term fullback for them. You have money still in the bank. You have Wesley Fofana, who's 20 years old, right? And you've already phased out your core, essentially, from your Premier League winning team. And I mean, this is a team that can grow together. They all have a very similar character. You've got the guys, the locker room guys. I mean, these guys could be top 2, top 3 for the coming years. I don't know if they can win it again, but
Champions League run.
Champions League run would be awesome. Yeah,
that would change a lot of opinions too.